Victorious Buddhas, compassionate ones, throughout the infinite worlds of the 10 directions, grant your blessings so that the inner and outer work that I accomplished today bears the fruits that multiply beyond imagining and extend to the very limits of this existence, to benefit myself, the ones I love, and the countless other beings of the 6 realms.
Thank you, Julia. All right, that's it.
Zanki, can you add somebody named Michj, okay?
I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
Can you add somebody named Michj, okay?
M-I-C-H.
JOK.
J-O-K. Let me try.
Yeah, because he's interested.
M-I-C-H-J-O-K. It's not finding anyone. Can this person send me a request? Would be maybe easier.
Yeah, I'll tell him.
I will accept it right away. Yeah, thank you, Banban. All right, hello everyone. I hope you had a great week. As little Po was mentioning, there are lots of cameras in here today. Thank you to all of those that are broadcasting that and helping us with the Sangha getting known. You know, it's growing nicely still after so many months. So today we have a very fun program, I think, because we're going to be looking at ancient fables, and I did not prepare like a formal commentary. I want us to read them together and discuss them and try and see the lessons that we can get from them. But let's stick to the program that we've been working on recently, and let's start with a meditation. So I would like everyone to get comfortable. Sit up straight. Sit straight. Sorry. By the way, if I sound a bit strange this week, or Julia, we've both been diagnosed with the COVID-19, and so we're not doing too. Yeah, no worries though. We're not doing too bad. Well, odds that we survive are pretty good. But I can be a bit short of breath, so I may speak weird. Anyway, so yeah, let's make sure that we're sitting. Sorry, Malka.
Get well.
Oh yes, thank you. Actually, Julia is a bit less in shape than I am, so I hope she does get better and we get over it with this as soon as possible. All right, so let's sit straight and let's take a deep breath. Let us leave the day behind. Let us disconnect. And then another breath. And then another. So let the relaxation take over your body. I will hit the bell. And so we can start. Relaxing our bodies from the top of our head, slowly scanning down. Relax your forehead, your eyebrows, the area around your ears, especially your eyes. You don't have to close your eyes, but please do if it helps relaxing. Otherwise, try and look at a 45 degrees angle in front of you at no particular spot. Have your eyelids closed like 3/4 of the way. And don't forget to breathe. Relax the muscles of your jaw, your cheeks, all around the lips and the chin as well.
He said he sent you a request.
Let us relax our neck, our shoulders, our chest and upper back area. You don't have to clench your teeth together. You can let your jaw fall in a relaxed fashion. Put the tongue against the upper palate. Make sure overall you feel just comfortable and that everything's aligned straight. Relax your arms, let them fall naturally on your laps. Make sure your legs are providing a good platform for your entire body. And just relax slowly. Start focusing your attention on your breath. Feel the breath coming in and coming out. You might feel your body becoming heavier with each breath. Let it fall off. Let the weight of your own body take it to the ground while you remain with the breath. As you inhale, anchor the mind into it. As you exhale, keep the mind anchored to your breath. And if the mind wanders away, bring it back gently to the object of your meditation. Let us just focus on the breath until the bell rings again. Go deeper into your meditation with each breath. you are new at this and have trouble to focus, you can try counting the breath in increments of one with each time you exhale. So you breathe in and out, and that's one. And then two. It will keep your mind busier, so it will wander away a little bit less. You can do that when you're stressed out as well. It may help you. We can bring a little bit of metta in our meditation by putting a smile on our face as we're focusing on our breath. Notice how it makes you feel when you're smiling and radiate that to the outside world. All right, let's all come back slowly. The real world, well, the virtual real world. How's everybody doing this week?
Yeah, better than ever for me.
Really? Wow.
Well, I've been walking, I even been running, so yeah, I even began to run. Half an hour, 40 minutes a day.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, congrats.
Eh,
I'll know who to contact when I need a personal trainer. Well, I need a personal trainer, but Anybody who had it rougher this week? A little bit more stressed out? No? All doing good? All right.
The weekend's in
Hope
the
you're
middle.
in the middle. Yeah. How did you deal? Is it, well, that's the middle way. That should be good, actually. So you found your middle way
Yeah, I
this
do.
week. All right. Okay, so today the format that we're going to do is that we're going to read one of those little fables, and then we're going to discuss it. Then we're going to read the next one and discuss it. Otherwise, it's just going to get confusing because there are a bunch of them. Some are short, some are long. And so we will do that for the time that we have. And whatever doesn't fit in this session, oh, we can finish it next time. So does that work for everyone?
Sure.
Yeah. All right. So Julia, are you prepared to read today?
Yes.
All right. Please join me whenever you want.
Teaching in Ancient Fables. Once upon a time, there was a country which had the very peculiar custom of abandoning its aged people in remote and inaccessible mountains. A certain minister of the state found it too difficult to follow this custom in the case of his own aged father, and so he built a secret underground cave where he hid his father and cared for him. One day, a god appeared before the king of that country and gave him a puzzling problem, saying that if he could not solve it satisfactorily, his country would be destroyed. The problem was, here are two serpents. Tell me the sex of each. Neither the king nor anyone in the palace was able to solve the problem. So the king offered a great reward to anyone in his kingdom who could. The minister went to his father's hiding place and asked him for the answer to that problem. The old man said, "It is an easy solution. Place the two snakes on a soft carpet. The one that moves about is the male, and the other that keeps quiet is the female." The minister carried the answer to the king, and the problem was successfully solved. Then the god asked other difficult questions, which the king and his retainers were unable to answer, but which the minister, after consulting his aged father, could always solve. Here are some of the questions and their answers. Who is the one who, being asleep, is called the awakened one, and being awake is called the sleeping one? The answer is this. It is the one who is under training for enlightenment. He is awake when compared with those who are not interested in enlightenment. He is asleep when compared with those who have already attained enlightenment. How can you weight a large elephant? Load it on a boat and draw a line to mark how deep the boat sinks into the water. Then take out the elephant and load the boat with stones until it sinks to the same depth, and then weight the stones. What is the meaning of the saying, "A cup full of water is more than the water of an ocean"? This is the answer. A cup full of water given in a pure and compassionate spirit to one's parents or to a sick person has an eternal merit. But the water of an ocean will someday come to an end. Next, the god made a starving man reduced to skin and bones complain. "Is there anyone in this world more hungry than I?" The man who is so selfish and greedy that he does not believe in the three treasures of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and who does not make offerings to his parents and teachers, is not only more hungry, but he will fall into the world of hungry demons, and there he will suffer from hunger forever. Here is a plank of chandana wood, which end was the bottom of the tree. Which end was the bottom of the tree? Float the plank in water. The end that sinks a little deeper was the end nearest the root. Here are two horses, apparently of the same size and form. How can you tell the mother from the son? Feed them some hay. The mother horse will push the hay towards her son. Every answer to these difficult questions pleased the gods as well as the king. The king was grateful to find out that the answer had come from the aged father, whom the minister had hidden in the cave, and he withdrew the law of abandoning aged people in the mountains and ordered that they were to be treated kindly. That was the first one.
Thank you. All right, so let's make this an open conversation. If you want, you can sit for a while, Julie, and then we'll read the other one.
Sure.
What do you guys make of this story? What are your conclusions
Cool
there?
story.
Well, I would say everyone is valuable and has a purpose in society or in a group, and we should not, thinking of how to say this in English, but we should not,
Do not discriminate.
discriminate, but also like welcoming everyone actually and treating them kindly.
Do not ostracize them, maybe. Do not put them aside, right? Not exclude them, is
Yeah,
the word, maybe.
Not exclude them, that was the word, yeah.
Right.
I would say learn from old people. Take a lot of experience.
I'm a little confused about feeding the teacher. That seems a bit Well, I just, feed your teacher or go to the place of hungry demons.
I'm sorry, you're a bit far, Mitch. I didn't get all of that. Could you repeat?
No, I was just saying, feed your teacher or, go to the place of hungry demons. Just seems a bit conflicting.
Well, the idea there is actually about simply generosity. It's about, and it was not only your teacher, it was about your teacher, it was about your parents, but it could have been the starving man as well that was described. The idea is that if you never share and you're never generous towards anybody, then you're pretty much greedy. And so greed in Buddhism is pretty much an unextinguishable thirst or hunger. So I think that's what's referred to by the hungry demons is when greed overtakes you and you always want more and more. I call that the poverty mentality, basically, when you consider you never have enough to share. So I think that this is what the teaching is pointing to there. I think we're striking quite a few of the important words there. I find this story especially relevant in 2021 for different reasons. One is that in First Nations of the world, we have a problem of denatality. The new generations are not making nearly as many babies as the previous generations were, especially the boomers. And so we are entering a situation of imbalance where there are not enough people basically to pay for the retirement of the old people that outnumber the new generations. So we have a smaller active population that's on the work market and basically contributing to the government funds that usually pay for our 401k in the States and other, advantages elsewhere in the world. But it's the same phenomenon everywhere. And so it might be tempting as a society to say, well, we need good roads and we need hospitals for ourselves and good education, and what are all these benefits that we're giving the old people anyway? Their families should be taking care of them. sometimes we have that attitude also for people who are on welfare. I often see in government debate that, oh, they're, this is a meritocracy and they're not working. How come they get these advantages? How come they get the same advantages that I do? I'm working so hard and they're not. They're freeloaders, right? So somehow when I hear that story, I feel that this society somehow at some point decided that old people were freeloaders, and they decided that it would be better economically to just get rid of them and abandon them in the mountains, and that way they could have a wealthier, better working society. But we can see how crazy that thought is when the problems happen and then nobody's wise enough to solve the riddles that the god is bringing in the story. So of course there is also this element that history repeats itself, and none of us is old enough to have witnessed what has happened in ancient Greece or the Egyptian civilization, or even just 300 years ago, or in medieval times. We read about it, but we don't really have access to all the subtleties. So the closest thing we have, I guess, is people who have lived a lifetime already. I remember the time in my life where I had never done any home improvement whatsoever. Well, my father had done quite a bit of it, and he was like my natural mentor when it was time for me to learn about how to do those repairs. And he had learned from his father before me, and so on. So that's kind of how we connect and share that knowledge. It's pretty much still the medieval system of the master and the student. So yeah, we need to recognize that not only in old people, but why couldn't the person that receives welfare be a teacher for me? Right? Maybe they don't have a life that's so easy. Maybe they became wise in different ways that I have not. Maybe they know how to be happy when they have nothing, for example, and I could learn from this. So of course, creating different classes in society like this, and that's almost like a caste system, like what India had for a long time. I would say, well, these are below me, I'm above, and so on. Again, you see, I'm talking about the caste system of India, but I never lived in it. I'm kind of judging it from the outside. And then there's this other thing that this fable inspired me, and it's that so many of us remove ourselves from our families, or remove our families from our lives. Some have very well parents that are doing good, that are healthy and everything, but they haven't spoken to them in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. They have brothers and sisters that they don't speak to either. And what's that about? In Buddhism, we talk about attachment a lot. So if I decide to leave my family behind, is that me being detached and wise? Is that how detachment should work in that case? What would you guys say?
No.
No.
Well, you brought up the kind of idea of student and master, but what about the student without master?
Well, the best master is the inner master, I would say, but first you need to learn to connect with it. If you can do that on your own, that's good. But usually it's better with an introduction. Well, in my experiences, either somebody will teach you or life will break you. And these are the two ways you can connect with your inner master. And then again, they say in Buddhism that when the student is ready, the master appears, and when the student is truly ready, the master disappears. So I find that to be quite true as well. Yeah, so about detachment there, if I am thinking like, okay, my family is toxic, and I am the wise one, and so I will disconnect from them in order to live a wise life. What's going on there? Is that all right? Is that a good way to go at family relationships? What would you guys say?
It is unnatural.
Unnatural? Yeah. Maybe. Why do families stick together so long in the human realm, actually?
I think they've been for a reason given to each other. Like when the soul of a human go into another human and there is a child, there was a reason for it. I don't think there is no reason to things.
Mhm. Yeah, I like that you're talking about having a child there, because I think that the nucleus of the family in humans pretty much revolves around the fact that we have 9 months pregnancy, and then it takes like 18 years for our kids, our children, to become mature. If you compared that to
More.
bunny rabbits, yeah, it's even more. If you compare that to bunny rabbits, this
Much more.
entire cycle is yes, it's a lifetime actually.
I also
So,
think it's
bunny rabbits
because
take a few months.
I think it's also because humans, if you look at our ancestors, would travel in packs and groups. So to in a way to be connected was also
Yeah.
a survival
So
strategy, and yeah,
social animals
Tribally.
helping one another.
social, yeah.
Yeah, that's very good. And so what happens when you are becoming an outcast, or you are separating from your clan like this? Maybe you're choosing the hard life. But is there a way to recognize that somebody is toxic and living a wise life without completely disconnecting from them? Is this something that can be done?
Yeah, there must be like golden line between being too close to your family and between being too spiritual for your family. There's like golden line in between, and you act nicer to them and still you are there for them. I mean, you're with them for them. So yeah.
Right. So let's say I have somebody in my family that whenever I meet with them, they insult me. Well, I can do two things. I can decide never to meet with them again because I don't want to be insulted. Or I can decide that when I meet with them, no matter how bad they insult me, I won't really let it get to me. And that's kind of another type of detachment there. I'm not attached to the meaning of the world that they speak. I'm more attached, let's say, to the person. I choose to be by the person's side, no matter what words they speak. Obviously, that requires a lot of training and a lot of wisdom, because it's difficult to do, especially with someone that you care about so much, like your parents. But really, when I was thinking of this village that systematically kind of dumps their elders, I was thinking of that drama of the families that separate, and it's so common. They did a scientific experiment not long ago. Unfortunately, I've forgotten which magazine it was and everything. But what they would do is that they would take bacteria, and they would isolate the bacteria from their peers. And they did that over a couple generation, and you know what would happen with those bacteria after a while? They would become cannibalistic. And they saw pretty much the same thing happen in rats. When people get disconnected and are taught to fend for themselves on their own, they kind of become predators, because they have to make it. They're in a survival situation, and so they're ready to step over anybody to make their way and make it happen. And so it's been happening a lot in our own societies, that societies are growing more and more individualistic. Families don't stick together. anymore for too long. Kids leave the house earlier than before. And also nations are the level of life in the world also kind of allows for that. It's easier to achieve autonomy than it ever was in the world. So we are kind of feeding into that competition idea that we need to make it as a single organism as well. And I feel that's a pity, because really we are competing for the same resources that we should probably be sharing more intelligently and helping one another. But that's not what we do.
So I've kind of got a question, and I don't know how to like word this right, but I just completely lost my train of thought. Hold on. So when you're talking about detaching from the person, how you can detach from those words and what you don't like about them, but not actually detaching from them as a family member, so they're still in their life. When it's coming to a family member that you need to detach from, and then also just a separate person altogether. So, for example, a coworker. Are you saying when it comes to family, it's more important to not detach from that person altogether, just inherently because they are a family member, or just in general, not to detach yourselves from fellow people?
That's a good question, and the answer, the short answer to this is, to me, is the same. We are one. We are one humanity, and whether I'm being insulted by a coworker or by a family member, in the end, if I look at the root causes of why these people are insulting me, it's probably because there is some fear or some confusion or something going on that is making them act like this. So to me, I would look at them with the same compassion. These people are somehow mistaken in their relationship with me, and that's sad, but that's what it is. But it doesn't force me to act equally bad or run away from them. I can still be there and try to help them. And if I can help them beat that confusion, better, because my relationship will be restored with them. But in some cases, it's just not possible. And then you can just be there patiently. Think of the abusive, senile old man who you have to go and wash his back, but he's trying to punch you and yell at you the entire time. You cannot think that this old man is really meaning to hurt you. He's just super confused, and so he's acting out like that. A dog stuck in a fence would pretty much do the same. They're fearful that you will hurt them more. They might try to snap and bite at you. And so the nature of people when they're scared and confused is the same. So if you do develop that wisdom within your heart and you can see through that confusion, then you cannot really be justified to run away. In a way, I consider it my mission to help those people, because that's what's preventing harmony from happening in the world. That people are confused and are scared from their next of kin, right? So, but where there is a bit of caution to take is that there was a quote in the story that was saying, "You're asleep when compared to the awake, and you're awake when compared to the sleeping ones," right? So our wisdom builds like that, very relative. Obviously, we're doing better than we did before, but it doesn't mean that we're all powerful and all knowing already. So I have been in situations, for example, at work, where I thought, no matter how hard I try, this is really getting to me. And do I really want to spend the next 3 years allowing this to get to me? So I would look, can I practice with it? Can I make it better? Can I let it go? Can I have a good weekend where I don't focus on the terrible week I've had at work because of that colleague? And if I notice that I can't, then it might be a good idea to put a healthy distance. Not a complete renunciation. You don't necessarily need to quit your job, but first of all, do not look for that person on purpose. Do not maybe ask for a transfer in another department or in another office, or give yourself some space to breathe. And if you really have no choice, then recognize that this person is getting to you, and take 5 after every interaction to kind of process and let go. That's how you can respect yourself a little bit through this. But if you see that, I don't know, you're gonna kill yourself, it makes you so desperate, then by all means, yes, that's the good timing where you should put some space between you and people. So Malko was talking about like there should be a line that is good, and we found in our families that it's about just the right amount of distance. For example, if you live next door with your parents and you have conflicts with them and they're on your back every day, that's difficult to manage. But if, I don't know, you have to take your car and roll 2 hours to go and see them, then you kind of need a good reason, and they need a good reason to come and connect. And so probably the meeting will get better because you will have accumulated the good news, and you will have missed one another a little bit more, and so everybody will kind of consider it more special, that meeting. So doesn't work with mental illness, for example. We really have to look at the situation for what it is, and just don't dump a person with the water of the bath, I'd say. That's the main thing. Make sure that you have really, really tried, and when you feel stronger, come back. Right? Open your heart again and let them in. So we do that to hold to old people, and one thing that's fascinating to me is that there was another study I read many years ago where they had those ethical problems, and there would always be the same kind of situation happening. An old person and a young person, and then a catastrophe is happening, and you can save one or the other, or you can favor one or the other. Who will you choose? So in America and Europe, we save the kids. In Asia, statistically, they save the old people. And that speaks volumes to me. Obviously, this thing that we've been reading today comes from a Japanese Buddhist handbook. So from the Pure Land and Buddhist Zen tradition. And so what they're talking about here is the wisdom of older people. But what about young people and how we can exclude them? Some societies, they don't respect at all. They consider that they're not valuable because they have not lived through anything, while the older ones have some knowledge to share, some wisdom to share. So all of this is very relative. I say all humanity is valuable, and let's just do our best to help our fellow humans. So anyone else with a commentary or suggestion about this story, or should we go move and read the next one?
Because you said like about bacteria, I have a story that I read an article about spiders, which they cooperate, but when there is too much stress and not enough resources, they turn against each other. So I would say that's also like the same thing as like choosing the right distance, I would say, and that's very important.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. I think I remember reading something similar as well. But it's in nature everywhere. Put just a few men in the same room and don't feed them enough, and it will just probably happen, right? At least they will fight for the resource, and when it's off. But we've seen plane crashes and very hard winters in history where people started to eat one another. So yeah, resource is one big thing. Nothing comes out that makes sense out of competition, actually. It would be, and this world right now, and what is missing, all of the imbalances in the world kind of reflect our inability to share those resources appropriately. You can now buy shares for drinking water, you know. Goes to show that very soon, if you have money, you're gonna get water. If you don't, you won't. All right, Julia, let's read the next. You can stay there. It's fine. Oh, or come.
Better from here.
All right.
So, Queen of Videja in India once dreamed of a white elephant that had 6 ivory tusks. She coveted the tusks and besought the king to get them for her. Although the task seemed an impossible one, the king, who loved the queen very much, offered a reward to any hunter who would report if he found such an elephant. It happened that there was such an elephant with 6 tusks in the Himalayan mountains, who was training for Buddhahood. The elephant once had saved a hunter's life in an emergency in the depths of the mountains, and the hunter could go back safely to his country. The hunter, however, blinded by the great reward and forgetting the kindness of the elephant that the elephant had showed him, returned to the mountain to kill the elephant. The hunter, knowing that the elephant was seeking Buddhahood, disguised himself in a robe of a Buddhist monk, and thus, catching the elephant off guard, shot it with a poisoned arrow. The elephant, knowing that its end was near and that the hunter had been overcome by the worldly desire for the reward, had compassion upon him and sheltered him in its limbs to protect the hunter from the fury of other vengeful elephants. Then the elephant asked the hunter why he had done such a foolish thing. The hunter told of the reward and confessed that he coveted his 6 tusks. The elephant immediately broke off the tusks by hitting them against a tree and gave them to the hunter, saying, "By this offering, I have completed my training for Buddhahood and will be reborn in the Pure Land. When I become a Buddha, I will help you get rid of your 3 poisonous arrows of greed, anger, and foolishness."
Thank you. All right, so I
Wow.
guess.
Love that one.
Yeah, that was really deep.
It's so powerful.
Right. So, would you like to tell us about it, Jared? What does it mean to you?
Like, you can, when you die, you can offer something to someone else.
So your death
Like-
can be meaningful and useful.
Yeah,
Is that what you were
yeah,
saying?
pretty much.
Malka, what did you get from this?
That even you getting killed by somebody that's been blinded by things like greed and really earthly things, you can find the compassion and the Buddha in you to send this person with peace and even to protect it. This is really high level, you know. This is like the unachievable level sometimes, because it is not natural. Like, to be on this level of understanding what is Bodhisattva and all these things, this is really deep.
Yeah, and yeah, I agree. It's obviously high level, and there's a lot of stories like this in the Buddhist lore, where the Buddha. Well, actually, in a way, we could say that the Buddha is every animal, and every animal that we eat. Sometimes in the old old fables, the Buddha is an animal, and he says, "Oh, you're hungry. Here, let me offer my body to you. Eat me, and that way you can survive and you can feed your children." I feel that the natives in America had this kind of relationship with nature as well. They were not vegetarian, but whenever they would kill an animal, they would thank the spirit, and they would not kill for sport or for fun. There was always a purpose, and they tried to use every single part of the animal, like the skin and the fur and the bones, and they would use everything. And so, yeah, it does feel like an offering, right, when it's treated like that. And it's obviously a very selfless, wonderful act as well.
I think the Japanese
I've
do a bit the same thing about, I mean, they have a whole custom about being grateful for food. More so than in the Western societies, I believe. We tend to be quite wasteful. Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
in Soto Zen, everything they see everything as a spirit. So the wind is a spirit, and you can be thankful to the wind. You can be thankful to the sun. Sound is another spirit. The trees, the forest, you know, they have spirits everywhere. And although we may think, oh, what a funny, foolish, superstitious way of living, you know, to see all of those spirits. Well, if you take it literally, maybe it's foolish. But if you start looking at the type of relationship that it builds with the world, where you're actually feeling that everything is conscious, that everything is also meaning well and doing their purpose in the world, then you start having a pretty connected experience of life, don't you?
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. So this elephant, yes, Xalco?
I was reminded about a story where basically, because he said everything has a spirit, there was a guy who was meditating in India, and he was traveling there, and it's a short story actually, but I will tell it real quick. So he was meeting some people there, and he spent the whole day with them, and then it was some kind of organization, and they gave him basically they wanted his opinion about something, like their organization guidelines or something, and he said what was missing was love. And then he kind of pissed off the guy because the guy had the feeling that he was not appreciating what they were doing or what they were saying to him, and so he forgot about it. And a few weeks later, about a few hundred miles or so, he went into the Himalaya mountains, and he was meeting there some yogis. They were actually doing some, I don't know, some traditional psychedelics there, and he was turned off by it because he was totally against drugs. But he was still sitting with them and talking with them, and they were telling him about all kinds of stuff, like spirits, and that the sun has a spirit and everything has a spirit, like the things you said, like the wind has a spirit. And then he said at the end, he said, all right, do you have anything to say, to tell me, basically, to teach me something? Because he was actually not believing that they were in touch with anything spiritual. And then he said, the most fucked up guy stood up and said, let me to the master, and the master said, okay. Then he told him word by word something he experienced like a few weeks before, a few hundred miles, basically the same thing that the conversation he had with this guy, and he was kind of blown away. So for me, this was his mind was blown, basically. But for me, this was like an interesting story, because even though we might not understand something or we reject something, there is a link and a reason for everything.
Well, and I've been on the side of the people that say this is mumbo jumbo, that doesn't exist, that doesn't work, and I've been on that side probably most of my life. You know, I was quite pragmatic and logical and everything. But then if you truly are logical, you have to recognize at some point that the question, for example, is there life after death? The only sensible answer to this is, I don't know. Do rocks feel something? I don't know. Is there a spirit in the wind? Geez, I don't know. I couldn't make a case using science that this never has been proven, but just because something has not been proven doesn't mean it's not there. And even when something has been proven not to be, we see that all scientific theories, they get reviewed and they fall off after 100 years or so, oftentimes shorter. Actually, 100 years is a big one. The laws of physics that we've been holding for true for hundreds of years are falling apart right now, with the quantum discoveries and everything. So when it comes to anything in the universe, and finding the true meaning in the truth, we do not know. I now believe that my little humble human mind is not sufficient to wrap itself around those big concepts. And I prefer to focus on harmony instead of trying to explain things. I try to focus on the fact that I might not know exactly what my role is here, but I'm going to try to guess what my role is for how my environment defines me, and I'm going to try to dance with the world as good as I can. And that's enough meeting. That's enough meeting and meaning. Sorry, and enough information for me now. Obviously there is the truth of information and black and white things, and I have a mind for that. If I need to make decisions about my finances, and I can gather the data and I can make the decision, and that's it. But when it comes to explaining the universe, I feel that we're quite arrogant in thinking that we're any better than a squirrel to make that happen. Anyway, thank you for the story, Xalgo. Back to the elephant story. To me, this story is a story about betrayal, where the elephant had saved that hunter, remember, in the past, and then the hunter comes back to kill him because all of a sudden he wants the tusk. And there's a very real experience in this for me. Like many people, I have experienced betrayal in my life, or I have called it and labeled it betrayal in my life. People that I loved very much, that I tried to care for very much, and that in the end, they basically just spat in my face, I thought, or weren't there for me when I needed them, or maybe some of you have experienced those situations. And it used to get me very frustrated, very angry, because, you get this indignation that how could they do that to me after all I've done? It's kind of worse than just somebody that you don't know hurting you. And then I realized something that you might find sad, but to me it's a comforting thought. And it is that among mortals, pretty much everyone will betray me at some point. But they will do it at a very special junction. They will do it when their survival or their interest in general conflict with what I am doing. So let's say I have made a mistake at work. I've had a wonderful relationship with that person for a long, long time. And I've had their back, through thick and thin, I've had their back. And this time I make a mistake at work, and this friend gets blamed for it somehow. And now he risks losing his job because of it. So he's at this crossroad where he either needs to tell on me and say, no, he did wrong there, and I get in trouble, and I feel betrayed, or they actually shut up about it, take the blame, and something bad happens to them or happens to their family as a result. Well, if you were that person, it would be a difficult choice, right? What would you choose? Would you tell on me or would you not? You are thinking about your family. Sorry?
I would tell, because it's naturally to care first for your first cycle of relationships and then only to the rest ones.
So in that particular situation, I guess we have a range to make our decision. We can decide whether to tell or not to tell. What I know is if I'm not aware of everything at play, is I will feel frustrated and betrayed. But then imagine a more extreme situation. Let's say that you have your baby that you love in your arms, and you are in the middle of a war, and you're hiding in a shed with 20 people from your village, and the baby wants to cry and the soldiers are coming. Now, you can put your hand on the nose and mouth of your baby and basically choke it so it doesn't cry, and you save those 20 people. Or you can let it cry and everybody gets shot. That would be a very difficult ethical decision there, right? So sometimes that's how we perceive. When I'm about to lose my job, when I'm about to lose an advantage, when I'm about to get financial hardships, I may get greedy there and take the easy way out because I want to protect myself, I want to protect my family, and oftentimes when doing that, I'm going to step over other people. So I found out that in my life, whenever that constellation happened, whenever somebody felt desperate and they were given an outing, an exit that involved stepping on top of me, they would pretty much take it because for them it was survival, even if it was something very trivial. You know, like they wanted to buy the boat of their dream for so long, and now they're not going to get the bonus. And so that expectation that they've had for the last 3 years is not going to happen. While they might betray me for a boat, even though they don't need it, they made it so important in their lives. So I guess the moral of what I'm trying to say here is that even though they're mistaken and they're confused, people betray us for a reason. In that case, he wanted the tusks to sell because he was greedy, he wanted the money. The story doesn't tell us what he wanted to do with the money. Maybe he wanted to build an hospice to care for all the old people that were abandoned in the first story. Who knows, right? He might have had quite good intentions there. But the thing is that he got greedy and he betrayed the elephant to get the tusks. And that's why the elephant, as he's dying, he says, I'm going to free you. When I become a Buddha, I'm going to free you from your greed, and I'm going to free you from your foolishness and your ignorance and so on. Because he sees that this is the cause of the betrayal. So we are all also hunters. We are also capable of betraying people and of making decisions like that we feel are actually good decisions. We could put it in a column and say, reasons why I'm going to do it, and then you're going to have yes, 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 reasons why I'm not going to do it, no and no. And then we're going to go this side because it's logical, it's pragmatic, and it makes sense. But unfortunately, we will have frustrated somebody, or we will have lost a good relationship there. So my take on this is that when somebody betrays us, let's not take it too hard, too much. Let's learn to look at why they did it, for why they did it. Let's forgive. Let's welcome them again. And we can even have the talk with them. I understand why you did this. Next time, I would like to speak about it with you maybe before you do it, so I know what's coming, so I don't get shot. Because, you know, I would have given you my tasks without you shooting me in the back like you did right now. I would have given them to you if I knew what you were going through, or we could have found another solution together, right? Don't you think that's what the elephant would have said if he knew?
Probably because it's easier to ask for forgiveness than for permission.
Yeah, well, if you're going to do something shameful, you don't want to expose yourself right from the get-go, I guess. Yes, Mitch?
Yeah, probably.
I was just going to say in some cases, forgiveness is easier than permission. That can be taken out of context very easily.
Yeah, probably. Right.
So got a question real quick. So on that note, while forgiveness is one thing, do you feel like we owe it to our betrayers to help them out with that, with why they betrayed us or the route that they're going down? Do we owe it to them after the fact, or do we just owe them forgiveness and nothing beyond that?
So here's the thing. I don't believe in revolution as an organized movement. I believe that revolution should come from within one person at a time. And that as we find our own goodness and another person find their own goodness and so on and so on. When we have an entire town of people who have found their own goodness, that town should roll pretty well, you know. There shouldn't be too many homicides and stuff like that going on in that town. In fact, people should help one another and so on. So the thing is, when you see somebody that's confused, if you allow them to remain in their confused state, well, you are not building that world. People, it doesn't mean that if you try to show them or give them and lend them your ear and try to work at this with them, doesn't mean they will get it or they will wake up or anything. But at least you're exposing them to something different. So we don't owe. I guess I would flip it on you and say, do you owe it to yourself to try and create a better world? Or should we allow people to be confused while we feel superior because we're not stuck in that crap, right? So in Buddhism, that has a very special name, and it's the Bodhisattva, which is, I guess, the peaceful warrior, where you decide that you might not be all that wise yet, but you're going to try to help others that you see are confused so that collectively we kind of rise the level. And the Bodhisattva vow, actually, is that you will help everyone reach enlightenment before you do. So you kind of help people get there, and you'll be the last one to step in that ship. I don't know if that answers your question there, but...
Kind of, yeah.
Okay, so maybe let's do one more of these little stories, and after that we meditate again, Julia.
Okay. In a thicket at the foot of the Himalayan mountains, there once lived a parrot together with many other animals and birds. One day, a fire started in the thicket from the friction of bamboos in a strong wind, and the birds and animals were in frightened confusion. The parrot, feeling compassion for their fright and suffering, and wishing to repay the kindness he had received in the bamboo thicket where he could shelter himself, tried to do all he could to save them. He dipped himself in a pond nearby and flew over the fire and shook off the drops of water to extinguish the fire. He repeated this diligently with a heart of compassion out of gratitude to the thicket. This spirit of kindness and self-sacrifice was noticed by a heavenly God who came down from the sky and said to the parrot, "You have a gallant mind, but what good do you expect to accomplish by a few drops of water against this great fire?" The parrot answered, "There is nothing that cannot be accomplished by the spirit of gratitude and self-sacrifice. I will try over and over again, and then over in the next life." The great God was impressed by the parrot's spirit, and together they extinguished the fire.
So that's a great one, because it bridges very well with what you were asking, Squirrel, right there. We have this little parrot and just the water that his feathers can contain, and he's actually trying to take out a forest fire, and he's alone. And kind of through his example, going again and again, doing the right thing. Well, in this case, you could have imagined that another bird and another bird and another animal, and you know, they could have built a movement like that, which would have been the analogy of what I was describing earlier, that it would have been difficult to organize that revolution, but by giving the example, all of them waking up kind of try to take the fire out. But in this case, it's even better, because a God noticed what he was doing and decided to use its power to take the fire out. So I guess it's just an homage to being a self-starter there and trying to achieve your own salvation and trying to do what's good. For example, I don't know if we have many vegetarian in the room right now, but for many vegetarians that I know, it's one way to take responsibility and avoid taking lives unnecessarily. There are other ways, you know, picking up trash in public spaces, recycling, all of these things that allow you to exist on a, let's say, a higher plane of consciousness of using your intelligence for the greater good is something that you can do on your own that you don't need anybody to do. As people witness you doing that and question you about it, it will make sense to them and they may join you in the movement. I don't know how that relates, but I'm inspired to talk about that. There's a teacher, Adyashanti, which I've been listening to quite a while in the early days of my practice. And Adyashanti used to tell the story of his teacher, which every day she wanted to teach meditation to people, but she did not advertise, she didn't do anything. And every day for 20 years, she would simply get in the room and lay 20 cushions. And then she would wait for visitors, and nobody would come. And she did that every day for 20 years, and then, oops, one person showed up. And then another came, and, you know, before we knew, the entire room was full, and she became a very good and renowned teacher, but not pushing it, just letting everything happen organically. So if you have the resolve and you keep at it long enough, someone will notice. That's not really how we think about that in the West, I guess, huh? We want everything fast and now, and yeah, we're ready to step on the rooftop and yell about it, to tell people. Not only this, you see now in social network where when somebody's feeding somebody else, now they have the selfie camera right here and they're filming themselves doing a gesture of goodwill. That is amazing. But that's how we're at. I'm not doing the goodwill because I understood the problem. I'm doing it for my own, benefit. So I think this little parrot there was a humble practitioner of the right kind, someone that's practicing for the right reason, someone that's trying to save the thicket for the right reason. And it's a good lesson for our practice, I'd guess. So this one was very short. Maybe we have time for one last one, Julia. Are there any questions about this one, though? No. All right. Oh,
At one
you closed the
time,
book? Sorry.
At one time, there lived in the Himalayas a bird with one body and two heads. Once, one of the heads noticed the other head eating some sweet fruit and felt jealous, and said to itself, "I will then eat poisoned fruit." So it ate poison and the whole bird died.
Is that the entire story?
Yep.
Okay. Well, what do you guys make of this one?
I didn't get
Don't
nothing
feed poison
actually.
to birds.
What does it mean?
Yeah, same here.
Oh, really? Did you have trouble hearing Julia, or was it too
Nope.
fast?
No, like the meaning of it.
I think there were two different heads with each two different individualities, but they shared the same body, yet they didn't feel that they were connected. So, in a way, by doing a bad deed to someone else, it in a way comes back to you. And you could say that in a way, we as human beings are all connected as well. And if we keep doing because of greed, fear, or other stuff, harm to our neighbors or even strangers, at the end we might actually be doing more harm to us in general than if we would try to coexist.
Makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah, now I get it.
There is one phrase that is very key in that little story, I feel, and it's when it says, like, let's say the good head got tired, and so, like, the evil head made it. So imagine that it's your practice. You're trying to act wholesomely, and you're trying to be good and everything, but then on the other side you have those desires. Like, you feel like you need to go clubbing, or you need to be chasing that girl or that guy that you like, or you need to be spending all of that money on a Mercedes. So on one side you have your fears, your greed, your misunderstandings about life, and on the other side you have your wisdom about you. And so if you let your wisdom get tired, and you let that part of you lead, you will end up in the same predicament as if you were not wise at all. You will have poisoned yourself, and now, even though you're wise, you will have to deal with all that crap. And Casper is very right in saying that this reflects very well to humanity, because let's say half of humanity is caring very well for the resources that we have, and the other half of humanity is just flushing them down the toilet. Well, the wise part of the humanity still has to live with the consequences of the other part being and acting irresponsibly. So I guess it's about us having a dualistic nature as a person, and whatever happens in one being kind of reflects in the collectivity, right? The reason there is violence in the world is not because other people are violent. The reason there is violence in the world is because I am violent. The reason why there is greed in the world is not because people are following their desires. The reason is because I am following those desires too. And as this repeats, as these individuals make up a collectivity, well, obviously it multiplies, and it creates wars, and it creates abuse of all kind. Right? That is why self-responsibility and individual revolution, psychological revolution, is so important. And it is so important not to give way to those parts of our nature that want to do evil things. Because if we do, that's going to reflect on the whole. Right? So having this vision, a lot of Buddhism is about gaining the right view about things, considering things from a larger perspective, from almost a cosmological perspective. And when you do, then you can see how your everyday actions fit in or don't. So I guess that's the idea there about this two-headed bird, that and it will happen. We will eat poison fruit anyway. But if we could do it less and less individually, then it means that we will also do it less and less collectively. And then there is hope. But as long as we carry on with those mistaken ways, then we're pretty much self-destructing.
I think you could say that the body is like our Earth or the planets, and we are the individual heads.
Sure, and you know, I think there's a problem also when we start thinking about the intent there. For example, what's the intent of an individual ant? It's there for the good of the colony, I guess. You know, I'm not sure how aware an ant is of their role, but they might be. But they all have like their role in the thing that they need to do, and they do it. And so that's harmonious. The problem is that we fell sick, and in the scriptures sometimes you read that nobody knows when that happened, when man became fearful and fell sick like that and forgot about this harmony and how to participate in it. But in a way, that's it, you know, when we're trying to go somewhere where life is not taking us naturally, and we're pretty much being victims of our own illnesses. Sorry, I have to replace a battery in my controller. I'm getting taken out of VR. I'll do that right away. Sorry about that.
Julia, can we read one more, please? I know, like, maybe it's hard, but like, maybe one more.
No problem whatsoever.
Yay.
Let's read one more. At one time, the tail and the head of a snake quarreled as to which should be the front. The tail said to the head, "You are always taking the lead. It is not fair. You ought to let me lead sometimes." The head answered, "It is the law of our nature that I should be the head. I cannot change places with you." But the quarrel went on, and one day the tail fastened itself to a tree, and thus prevented the head from proceeding. When the head became tired with the struggle, the tail had its own way, with the result that the snake fell into a pit of fire and perished. In the world of nature, there always exists an appropriate order, and everything has its own function. If this order is disturbed, the functioning is interrupted and the whole order will go to ruin.
What's been interesting for me today, I'm back, sorry. What's been interesting for me today is that the conclusion of each story kind of lead to the moral of the next one. This is what I found out today to be true. So you see, the birds there led us to talk about the natural order and how we lost harmony and everything, and then all of a sudden we have those snakes that are basically stepping out of line, and well, one snake with the tail stepping out of line and wanting to be something that they're not, and getting in trouble for it, actually killing the entire snake. So I guess the people that put this book together really knew what they were doing, right? I also feel, though, that there's a parable in there about hierarchy in society, and maybe about our elders. It can be interpreted in so many different ways. Maybe it's about how we need to treat everything with respect, I guess. You know, maybe we don't understand what others are up to, and other animals and other objects in our life, and if they have feelings, and if they have spirit, and if they're conscious or not, and so on. So in doubt, just treat everything with respect, and don't try to be something you're not. If we were to apply it to 2021, don't try to be that cool kid. Don't try to have those branded items. Don't try to show off, you know? Don't try to be something that you're not, just for the sake of being popular, because you might become popular, but you will also be hurting. We have this thing in French about the clown that is sad, that's making everybody laugh, but inside is very sad. That's what happens, I found, when you go kind of against nature. You're doing something that is misaligned with your own aspirations and feelings. So it might be an allegory for that. What's your take on this? How do you like that little serpent fable?
I have to say to the serpent fable, so I mean, what one way to also prevent this would have actually been the head letting the tail lead just once and see that it doesn't work, and they wouldn't have died. It was not like that. It should have not, or how to say it. It was not necessary that it has ended that way. And regards to the story from the birds before, or from the bird who was doing something which was also not sure to lead to success, actually did it anyway. So I think in that case, what was really important is that it was embedded into like a system and had a function actually and wanted to do something else. And yeah, I would just say there are many perspectives, and one could also see that this could have turned out differently. I mean,
right? Yeah, under better leadership. Yeah. So under better leadership, everything is possible. But if I'm the tail, isn't it better if I am kind of self-responsible and self-accountable? Like, I don't know how, I like the way that you said that it's part of a system. In that case, it's a body that functions with a head and a tail, but it could have been a society. Let's say I'm the tail of society, and I might have opinions and visions, but if I was made president of my country tomorrow, would I really do better? There are so many things that I don't know. Maybe I would lead the country to ruins. Maybe I would lead it to glory as well. So again, to me, I feel it's just about being humble and not fearing about being exactly what we are. And if I am a tail, my father used to tell me, son, if you're going to be a garbage man, be the best garbage man the world has ever seen. So I'm going to be proud of you all the same. And I guess be the best you can be, right? If I was to boil it down to something meaningful, let's try to stick with that conclusion there, that it's no matter if we have one leg or two legs or an arm shooting out of our forehead, let's make the best out of that. Let's be the best person we can be.
I recall that there was a time, I think, where the garbage man actually, I don't know what was the exact reason, but they decided to strike for a certain time. And well, everyone was still putting their garbage outside, at the time needs to be collected, but you suddenly start to realize, well, the neighborhood started to realize how desperate they wanted the garbage man to come back, especially once the stench began to even infiltrate their houses. So the moment they began working again, everyone was relieved and happy again. But yeah.
Yeah. I know a somewhat more vulgar story that goes the same, but with the asshole of the human body. And same thing, when the asshole stops doing his job, the entire system falls sick and might die.
Constipation.
Yeah. So garbage men, assholes, sewers, all of those things that we might not be super attracted to are very essential for life to work, and there's no shame in it, right? So actually, there is pride to be found. We cannot be defined by what society says we are. We need to really be at peace with what we are and find our own pride in it. All right, so let us close on another 10 minutes of meditation together. And hope you enjoyed those little fables today. We still have a bunch more for next time. And yeah, let's just relax together. Let's think, what were the topics? So first story was about the old age, and excluding people. I'm sorry?
The elephant.
Oh, you said, yeah, that's the second one. So first of all, there was this story about how we exclude people from our lives. So in your meditation now, try to recall if you're separated from loved ones right now. Try to take some time and think about them. And then about the elephant and the story of betrayal, think of those maybe who have betrayed us and whom we have betrayed as well. And then let us think of the consequences when we give more importance to our desires and our greed than we do our wisdom. And finally, we can also reflect about this, who we are, and how we could be better at being who we are, or we can be more authentic. And I know I said that in a past session, but it's about being in a way that is so uncomplicated that it's not even to be, it's just to be, right? Just try to be very humbly what you are and embody that in everything that you do. So think about these. I think I'm gonna just make it a little silent meditation. Think back on the stories and how they touch your life. And let's talk again when the bell rings. Forgot to say that you can tie about 25% of your attention to the breath as you're thinking and visualizing. Also, try to have good feelings arise towards those people that did you wrong as you consider those events. right. Hope you guys feel even half as relaxed as I feel right now. And before we finish this, I see a few names that have been here with me for the first time today. Just curious about how you guys like this session.
I found it quite
Berlin,
interesting.
you're saying yes. Thank you.
I enjoyed it quite a bit.
All right. So what do you prefer, the meditation or the reading or the commentaries? What's the most enjoyable part for you guys?
Really, the reading
Well,
and
for me,
the
meditation.
commentary.
The
The
stories.
reading with the commentary,
I like
the
the
stories.
I quite like the open discussion. It's very interesting to hear everyone's point of view on a certain subject.
Right. Meditation's good as well, yeah. All right. Well, you've been great. I hope to see you guys again if you can make it. Really, those that have been with me for several months now, you must know that I absolutely love this community. It's something that I enjoy doing quite a bit. And I wish I had even more time to spend with you guys, but I'm sticking with my Mondays for now.
Yeah.
Maybe later we can go back to our Dharma cafes that we were doing and more open discussions. It was quite fun.
Yeah,
Um,
it is.
but meanwhile, we have this.
I've been missing that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. All right, so let's all rise for the dedication.
What?
Dedication, yeah, so I might explain that. Basically, everything that all of our insights, everything that we realize, everything that we can bring back in the world as a result of this session, we dedicate to the benefit of all sentient beings. And so it's just a reminder that we're not doing this to become superheroes, but actually to help people and build a better world.
For the benefit of beings without exception, I dedicate without any reticence whatsoever all the merit accrued through virtuous acts to the incomparable expanse of totality.
And now bow to you. Thank you again for being here, and we may now exit the shrine together. You follow the person that you were behind when you got in, so that we can do this in order.